Well, hello there, fangirls and fanboys. It's episode 102 of Electric Fancave and ElectricFeast.com, and this ish is about to get real. We've got some heavy-hitting pop culture topics to discuss this week, so as always, Corrigan Vaughn and Kristen Latterell here, and tonight we're joined once again by our pal Seth Millstein to dive into the giant mess that is the Amber Heard and Johnny Depp divorce, Captain America's sudden and surprising turn to the dark side, Kit Harington's strange observation about Hollywood inequality, Dan Aykroyd's love for the new Ghostbusters, and a whole lot more. Are you ready for this, you guys?
Yes!
Yeah! Woo! Then let's just do this. Kristen.
Yes.
Great news.
I have it here to show you guys. I pre-ordered this a month ago.
Yes.
I have it in my calendar.
Pride and Prejudice and Zombies,
yes,
for those who are listening.
Those of you don't see Pride and Prejudice and Zombies on Blu-ray and DVD came out today. I pre-ordered it on Amazon so it would come at the closest possible moment without me having to make an extra stop between home and here.
Yes.
You guys.
I never saw that.
Seth.
And I like zombies, and I like sort of, I don't know, like meta-cross literary...
Seth, do yourself a favor and either just buy it or go to the Red Box and rent it.
Who's involved in it? Anybody?
So Lily James is in it, if you know who she is.
I do not.
Matt Smith.
Doctor Who?
Gosh.
No.
A bunch of British people are in it. It's
British.
You could have just said it's British, and I would.
Oh. Yeah. Well, I kind of thought the Pride and Prejudice implied that, but maybe that was wrong. I don't know. Kind of takes place in English.
Assuming things again, Kristen.
Sorry.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, so I don't know if you guys remember this, but a while ago, Corey had bought the Star Wars DVD because we were very excited about the fact that John Boyega and Daisy Ridley and Oscar Isaac are just lovely. And there's all these YouTube videos about fun stuff they were doing behind the scenes. And the special features were awful. There was no gag reel. There was no... really cool deleted scenes. There was no, making of featurette of somebody with an iPhone walking around set. None of that. Of things that you expect from special features. This comes in the mail today. I'm just going to read you the exclusives here, okay? Deleted scenes, great, normal. A gag reel. A Mr. Collins line-orama, which, if you remember, he was, stole this movie.
Yes.
Something called the Badass Bennett Sisters, which I don't know what it is, but I'm very excited about.
Yep.
And creating the Unmentionables, which I'm sure is just a makeup deal, whatever.
Yeah.
One called, this is a good one. It's called Courtship Class and Carnage.
Yeah.
I don't even know who is naming these things, but they have done an excellent
job. I want to be their friend.
Album title right there.
Right?
Yeah.
I know. Oh my gosh. tap on the album. No, you should use it. You make music, Seth.
Yeah, you actually make music, Seth. That one's yours.
Yeah, that's yours. But you guys, I was gonna watch it, but then I was talking to my roommate, which is fine. She's lovely, so I'm glad I did. But I was gonna maybe wait for Corey, but I'm totally gonna just watch it later and tell you how awesome they are. I'm very excited.
It's okay. Fine, if you must. I just love it so much, and Seth, you need to watch it. We, in fact, actually discovered that you could buy the movie itself on Amazon 2 weeks ago, and so we watched it 2 days in a row last week as well.
No, ma'am. Okay. I'll watch pretty much any zombie movie there is.
Then I think you'll really enjoy this one because... we've talked about it before, but we read the book, which was okay, but the movie is just very good.
Yeah,
that's interesting because I didn't actually read the book, but I like the gimmick of it. But I just imagined the gimmick was basically that they're taking Jane Austen language and inserting the word zombie in there.
That's pretty much how the book was.
That's pretty much how the book is, but the movie, they decided to add a little bit more of an actual story to the zombie, whereas the book, you're just it's like someone's fan fiction, kind of reads like someone's fan fiction, whereas this, they kind of decided to give more of a background, and it's just it's beautiful too, just visually it looks really great, the costumes are great. There's this opening scene that kind of sets up how the zombie apocalypse started, which is worth the entire price of admission.
Nice. I won't go on a tangent here, but I've long felt that there's so much potential for a film to be just about the outbreak, how the outbreak starts. That movies they usually skip that, or they'll do
they skip that
in the beginning. I think that could be that could be an interesting film in and of itself. I'm still waiting for that movie to happen. Anyway.
Yeah, that's not. Well, I guess that's kind of Fear the Walking Dead's
Dead.
premise, isn't it?
I think. I don't know. I don't watch it.
I only saw 2 episodes, so.
I guess.
Yeah.
I think the first. You could argue that the first Resident Evil movie is about that, but I don't know if that really counts. Anyway.
I haven't seen that since it came out, so I can't really vouch it one way or another.
I'm one of the lone defenders of the first 2 Resident Evil movies. But
you and my mother. You and my mom. Totally.
Hey, happy birthday, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Happy birthday, Mom.
Birthday.
Hi. Sometimes she does watch us and listen to us, so, she'll be pleased. Her favorite, as she calls him, Cookie Seth, is here.
Oh, yeah.
Did you used to eat a lot of cookies?
It came from his carrying a tray of cookies around my graduation party back in 2000.
He was hired, or he just wanted to do that?
Corey's mom gave me the rest of the cookies from the graduation party, and there's a picture of me holding them. And I don't know if I've
happiest man in the world.
Yeah, I'm so happy. I'm smiling a smile that I've never seen myself give in a photo before or since. I just look like I just won $1 million.
Seth, you and I are just such kindred spirits. I just like a week ago sent Corey a GIF of Tom Hiddleston and the Cookie Monster from when he was on Sesame Street, and I was like, this was me today when someone brought cookies to a meeting. I was like, I feel your joy.
As you smile. Yeah. So happy birthday, Mom, from all of us.
Happy birthday, Mom. Watch this.
Birthday, Mom.
If you're not doing anything.
Yeah. Got nothing else to do. Watch Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Another thing I just wanted to broach before we got into things. I made a huge mistake this week, you guys.
Uh-oh.
Made a very big mistake. I pointed out that when people post things on my wall or tag me in things, especially when they're related to Jeff Goldblum or Jurassic Park, I've probably seen them. Because, I Tumblr, I tweet, and things like that, and it's like, you just gotta wake up pretty early in the morning to get to one of those things before I do. So I said, I was like, I don't mind being tagged in these things. I love that people think of it. Just FYI, I've probably seen that already. Because you ever have that where, like, multiple people think of you because something is very you?
Oh,
and
yeah.
then you feel like a jerk when like, the second person posted on your wall, and you're like, how do I respond without being like, yeah, someone, like, literally just posted this?
Yeah.
I just like it. I don't even comment. I just click like at that point. Or I say, ha, ha, ha.
I guess that works. I guess I just always feel like I like someone thought of me. I need to put a lot of effort in. I don't know. I overthink it for sure. So the whole point of me posting this status update was just to be like, FYI,
just to
you
be a
made
bitch. I'm
the
just
first one. What?
I said just to be a bitch. No, I'm just kidding.
Basically no.
I saw the
you made it
status
to the first
update. I
one.
thought it was phrased in a respectful way.
But what happened as a result of that, and I'm not sure how many of these were intentional or like how many were specifically just to get on my case here, but then my entire wall was just the gif of Sam Neill lying on Jeff Goldblum's chest and the breathing up and down.
It's so good. Like,
as one of the people who posted that on your wall, I was being sincere. I did, and I'd seen the status from the day before. I was like, I was like, you've probably seen this, but in the off chance you haven't, here it is.
Exactly, and that was what like so you did that, and I was like, I'm pretty sure he's just seeing if I'd seen it, and then like another person did, but it wasn't someone I talked to like every day, so they posted it and they said something similar like, just giving it a shot or something like that, and I was like, okay, and then it like kept happening. I was like, okay, this feels coordinated. Like, did someone message all of you like, all right, we're doing this?
Bree and I messaged your entire friend list and said, hey, all guys, we're going to spread it out with between like an hour and a half. We're all going to do it. But we didn't do it.
Yeah, but just, for plausible deniability, you guys didn't actually do it. So, FYI, yes, I have seen both iterations of that image. And the funny thing is, like, I don't know if it's the same one or someone else did this later, but like a year ago, the same thing was circulating.
Huh.
And so it's like, even the first time someone tagged me in it, I was like, yeah, I saw this a year ago.
Oh, hey, Corey, have you seen the, I could be misremembering this. I think there's an episode of Celebrity Jeopardy on Saturday Night Live where David Duchovny plays Jeff Goldblum. Have you seen that?
Oh, I don't know if I have.
Oh!
And I love David Duchovny, and I love Celebrity Jeopardy,
Yeah,
and I love Jeff Goldblum.
I haven't seen it in about 10 years, but I recall it being a very good impression, so I would look that one up if you get a chance.
All right, I will. And it may turn out I've seen it because I also have bad memory.
Today, Corey, and 10 years ago, too.
10 years ago, Seth got up and, beat me to it. That's why I said it's okay to tag me in things, because sometimes people get lucky, and I get lucky and haven't seen something, and so it makes my day. So, like the other day, I just
never tag you in anything.
Oh, I do it to you all the time.
There you go. Well, that's because I rely on you for my news.
Exactly. But John Vanderhoff did tag me 2 weeks ago when Carl Urban and Jeff Goldblum were cast in Thor, and he was the first one to point that out to me. I would have figured it out like 10 minutes later, but nonetheless, I was very excited when I woke up at like 7 a.m. that day, and that was the first thing I saw. So keep tagging me, but like not necessarily in the same thing all day.
Or only in the same thing all day. All day, every day.
I like Kristen's idea.
Yeah. This is going to be like how once every 2 or 3 months, Seth just posts the Friday video by Rebecca Black.
I've been doing that consistently on every 10th Friday for the last 5 years.
It's like every time I'm like, yeah.
I try not to do it often enough that anyone will expect it, but often enough that they'll go, shit, he did it again, sort of thing.
Yeah, he did. Yep, indeed.
Well, it's funny
Andrew
because
Capper
anytime I try to sing the baby song, the one by Justin Bieber, I think I'm actually singing Friday, but with the word. I can't remember which one is what.
Oh my God! It's the exact same vocal pattern.
Yeah, it's like now I can't.
Yeah,
I can't get past it. That's all I can think of.
So actually, anytime someone posts it, I'm like, oh yeah, baby, babe, is that it? Or is that Friday? And I can never.
I guess that means I have to make a mashup of those two songs.
It really does. Can you also do Frosty the Snowman and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? Because that's really my issue. Every time I start singing, I go, Frosty the Snowman had a very shiny nose. That's not how this. That's not how this song goes.
What I'll try to do is get all 4 of them in the same song. And,
it'll be the world's worst
mashup ever.
Yeah, no, everyone will hate that. That's the end of Seth's career.
That's when I gave up music after I released it.
Oh man, hey, if Kitten singing Christmas carols was a hit in '94, I have hope for this mashup. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I'll get to work on that as soon as we're done with this podcast.
Looking forward to it. Looking forward to
it. Okay, so this week, pop culture exploded in many a way.
Yeah.
So many things happened this week that there's things that I had put on our list initially that I was like, we will never have time to discuss that. So, first and foremost, I think it's always important that we share Harry Potter news.
Harry Potter!
News. Harry Potter, the play Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, is the play that is going up in London that is based on a short story by J.K. Rowling. Today, they've released some photos of adult Harry and Ginny and their child, and that's it, right?
That's all I saw. And I saw a picture of the theater with the nest.
Yes, and the theater.
It's a little creepy.
Yeah. It is a little creepy. The premise of this play is kind of a weird one too. According to Wikipedia, the release said it was always difficult being Harry Potter, and it isn't much easier now that he is an overworked employee of the Ministry of Magic, a husband, and father of 3 school-age children. I would argue that is actually a lot easier than constantly almost being murdered. But I digress. Well,
But
Harry
we
grapples
don't,
with
we're
the
not,
past.
we're not overworked by the Ministry of Magic, nor do we have 3 school-age children. So what do we
Yeah,
know?
so I don't know. Parenthood is hard. That's what all the parents on Facebook tell me.
That's so
Well,
true.
Harry grapples with a past
Constantly.
that refuses to stay where it belongs. His youngest son, Albus, must struggle with the weight of a family legacy he never wanted. As past and present fuse ominously, both father and son learn the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes darkness comes from unexpected places.
Ooh.
Your thoughts, friends?
What?
Sorry, I just did like a spooky ghost noise. It
Yeah,
seemed,
you
it seemed to
did,
kill
yeah.
the party. Sorry.
That's okay.
Thoughts on photos and plot?
Oh. I feel like that plot says nothing, so sure. It sounds like middle-aged Harry is into shenanigans again.
Yes.
So not like blown away, but intrigued, you know.
Right.
Photos, it looks like old Harry. They made Ginny dress such like a mom. Like, I know she is, so I should just accept it. But I'm like, sometimes moms are cool. I don't know. She just looks like such like a mom. That was always my bummer too about the like epilogue from Harry Potter was like they made her so frumpy. I'm like, some moms like don't like do that. But anyway, that's totally besides the point and lame. But I mean, they were cool. They looked like people in Harry Potter world. For a second, I didn't actually know what the Cursed Child was about, and so when I looked at the pictures, I didn't really know what was going on. I did not read a lot about this. I'm not gonna lie to you. So I have no thoughts. I guess they look like an old Harry and an old Ginny and a kid. That could be their kid. It could also just be some random child that they found. So
They just picked up somewhere. I thought they looked very like sort of dark and grim. Personally.
Yeah, they look kind of dour and a little, just a little, grim, just kind of downbeat.
and frumpy. They looked frumpy. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
It looks like they're having a hard time.
Yeah, I don't. I'll admit I haven't read the Harry Potter books, so I couldn't tell you what happens in them. I know that he lives under the stairs, and the only reason I know that is because my room in my apartment is underneath the stairs, and whenever someone sees it, they're like, "Oh, it's like in Harry Potter." That's as much as I know about Harry Potter.
You live under the stairs?
I mean, that's maybe an exaggeration, but as you can tell in the background, I have a lofted bed.
Oh, I thought it was a bunk bed.
No, not a bunk bed. There's actually a couch underneath.
Ooh.
Come on, Kristen. You're the grown-up.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And then he lives under the stairs. I don't think it's a whole lot to assume that it was a
I'm going
bunk
to
bed.
defend Kristen on this one.
Yeah.
Thank you, Seth.
Also, I was being sarcastic, Seth.
Oh, well, that didn't come across sometimes on video chat.
I think as far as the new Harry Potter goes, I do sort of like the idea. I don't know. I'm assuming this isn't what they're going to do, but I kind of like the idea that after this huge epic tale of magic and wonder, you just focus on him like working like some administrative job and like the bureaucratic, problems he has to deal. I think that'd be pretty hilarious.
It all kind of becomes Office Space.
Yeah, it sort of becomes. That said, I'm sure there will be some magic in it. That's something.
But that's the funny thing about the synopsis that they give is that it really does sort of sound like that it's just going to be like, oh, the life and times of middle-aged Harry. He goes to work and nobody respects him at his job. It's not like being the boy who lived anymore.
I mean, that itself could perhaps be, like a metaphor for how the magic and the wonder in life fades as you get older, and how all roads sort of lead to. Well, sorry, this is getting dark. I didn't mean to take it there. Anyway.
Okay, we're talking about a book in which like kids die regularly and things like that.
Yeah.
So honestly, is that much darker?
Well, there's the question, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess
I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, but I
Bree
wish that it was
made the note
something
that
we could
Ginny's
go see.
becoming her mom, which is, I don't know if it's all really that upsetting because if you think about it, Mrs.
She was a
Weasley turned
bimp.
out to be a badass in the end. So, really, the whole time when you think back, for the most part, you always thought of her as the wet blanket until you realize, like, no, she was the only person really trying to fight for. I don't know. I mean, she wasn't the only person, but anyway.
Yeah.
So there you go. But again, if she's gonna look like Mrs. Weasley, then she is gonna turn into like a mom. So.
Yeah, exactly. And let's be real, like, they grew up poor and all that kind of stuff, and she was never super fashion forward. So it's not like she's gonna turn into like, Kate,
But
Kate, the Duchess of
was
Cambridge, or anything like that.
But she was a famous Quidditch player, so I feel like that lends itself to a certain sort of prestige. You know, I mean, I feel like people in the public eye, I don't know, whatever. You know what? I'm getting way too into a story that which we have no.
Who knows? She could be very fashionable, and it's all.
You know,
it's just that one picture.
Yeah.
It is kind of interesting that it's a stage play, just in terms of like if you're trying to show magical things happening, that puts a lot of limitations. So I'm curious how that'll play out.
Yeah, the people who, what do you call the people who do that in shows?
Oh, God.
Who do like
Stage
special
managers?
effects in a stage show. I was gonna say stage manager. I'm like, that sounds wrong.
No, that's not right. It's
But it'd be really fun to have that job for a show like this. Set design.
set design.
They make the special effects.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe.
they like. I think they.
Well, I guess,
designed
but if
that
it was like a prop, then it would be like.
Prop master.
We're just guessing. We're just making things up right now. Right?
I'm always been impressed by
Sorry,
the guys
theater
from Lion King when they made that leopard. Remember, because it was like a puppet, but a guy wore it, and it was always so cool. He was my favorite part of the whole play.
Or, like, did you ever see like the stage version of Warhorse or videos of the stage version of Warhorse?
No.
Oh man, you have to. Like what they did to like make like horses looking like they're running and stuff like that on stage is insanity. And it would just be so cool to be the person who's like, yeah, I made that magic happen.
Yeah.
Like
I
made a horse where there never was a horse.
Yeah, I went and saw a live production of Point Break this weekend, and let me tell you, the stage production was just off the charts.
Okay, we need to pause and talk about this. How was that?
It was epic and so terrible, but like so great. So I was telling Seth actually before we started, they choose a person from the audience to be Johnny Utah. And so
the whole time?
Yeah, so they like so people go up and they kind of try out, right? And this guy was like definitely into it, which made it so much better because he like wanted to be Johnny Utah. And they have this girl that like follows him around with cue cards and like holds him in front of him, and he'll be like, "Yeah." You know? And it's like so great.
Yeah.
It was so great. And so then the rest of the characters are fine, but it was just the most like ridiculous. You had to wear a poncho because they're throwing water at you, and like when people get shot, fake blood goes spurting into the audience. And this one guy.
Where was this?
So it was at this place called the Dragonfly in LA, which is like kind of like a dive bar essentially.
Okay.
Yeah, you get your price of admission comes with it. You know, you ticket in, and then you get a meatball sub.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, and then like the
target audience.
The T-shirts that they sell, this is like Point Break Live, and it has a picture of the guy in the Reagan mask on the front, and then the back it says, "Utah, get me two."
That's awesome.
And then, and it was just, I mean, it was not, and I was totally kidding, obviously, by the earlier comment about props, because it was like the most, I mean, it was like these guys like just found stuff from their house to put this play on, you know? Which was just ridiculous. So it was really funny, and like at first I was like, I am not sure how to like process what's happening in front of me. But, it was pretty funny, and they like the part when they jump out of the airplane was ridiculous, you know. Where it's like they did have a harness where they they did have a harness from the ceiling where two of the guys got hooked up, and the other two guys just pretended, and they like all held hands, and the music got real soft, and like. People clearly just came with fans and were like standing under them, like you could clearly see it happening. And you're like, okay. And the guy that was playing Gary Busey's character, right, was just like so like Gary Busey, like all jerky. And his head was, they just kept putting baby powder in it. So every time he moved, white puffs of powder would go flying from his head. And it was just unbelievable. And the guy that was playing Johnny Utah was like such a good sport, and was just really having a good time with it, which was fun. So it was a really fun experience, but it was just like out of control. And it was, And they had like tarps for the backdrops. It was like not real thing. You know what I mean? It was just like.
I wonder how surprised the cast and crew of that film would be. Like if you could go back in time when they were making it and say, hey, you know, in 30 years, this is going to be performed live on stage.
Yeah. They'd be like, that's ridiculous. Go home.
Or like, I wonder how it started, because it clearly had to have been a joke the first time they did it, but everybody loved it so much that they just kept doing it for 20 years or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
It's interesting how enduring, just like how enduring that film's been, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking it's like with, you know, showings of The Room or of Troll 2 or things like that, where it like starts as something someone does in their basement or whatever, and then it grows, and the next thing you know, you're out seeing it in LA in a dive bar.
Yep.
Eating a
with
meatball
real
sub.
harnesses. Eating meatball subs.
Give me two.
So into it. So into it.
Anyways,
moving on from that. Another little piece of news announced today.
So.
Yes. The sequel to Mary Poppins Returns, which also sounds like a very ominous name. Officially, Lin-Manuel Miranda and Emily Blunt have been cast in it, which is amazing. I'm so into it. Seth, have you seen Mary Poppins at all? I forget if you said that. You're not a musical guy.
I'm not really not a huge musical fan, and no, I don't know if I have seen Mary Poppins.
Harry Poppins.
Mary Poppins. Me neither. Sounds delightful.
Yeah. I don't know if it does, actually.
Talk about fan fiction. Hey-o.
I love
like Emily Blunt, though.
Yeah, Emily Blunt is amazing. I think she's delightful. Lin-Manuel Miranda, I mean, if you just follow him on Twitter or Facebook or whatever, you don't even have to be a Hamilton fan to just appreciate that he's delightful. But I am an enormous Hamilton fan. Kristen, you love Emily Blunt.
Yes, I think she's wonderful. I'm super excited about it. And then I was trying to find the tweet today, because Lin-Manuel Miranda, after that, he also posted that another movie of his is also getting made in addition.
It was In the Heights, right?
Yes, it's also getting made. So he's like just on top of the world, so he's going to get to do this. And I actually didn't realize that Mary Poppins was like a series of books, which is cool. So apparently this one he's not playing Bert, he's playing someone named Jack, who's a different character altogether. And this is many years after the original Mary Poppins, where the kids are grown up. If you don't know anything about it, the kids are grown up, and it's Michael's. There's some kind of family tragedy, and I'm assuming probably Michael's wife dies or something, because it doesn't mention her. Anyway, and he has kids, and Mary Poppins comes back, and so I'm so excited. It was funny because I was reading the story, and it was like they named these two people, these people who were involved in it, other than the stars, producer, director, but he's also writing the music. And I'm like, what? But you have Lin-Manuel Miranda. Why isn't he writing the music?
Yeah, right.
He's kind of good at that.
Yeah, I was like, I feel like you're wasting his time. I mean, not that he couldn't perform what you give him, and I'm sure he'll probably end up having some kind of creative role, role as well. But it was just funny where I'm like, oh, he's not even listed as like helping co-write it or anything. Yeah. Anyway, we'll see.
That is a little weird.
Very excited about it. I think it'll be super fun, and it can't be bad. I refuse to think that. So.
Yeah, I refuse to believe that. Lin-Manuel, Emily Blunt, Mary Poppins, which I've seen the movie a million times and own, and I've seen the stage play twice. I absolutely love it. And that's actually one, Seth, when we were talking about, like, doing magic on stage and stuff like that. Like, she flies and things like that. And the way that they managed to do that on stage is incredible. Like, I just remember the first time I saw it being like, oh, she's really doing it. And not just like the harnesses, but the ways that she would walk up walls and stuff.
That's what I thought at Point Break, too.
It all comes back around, They really did some stuff with that that's worth discussing. No, I'm super stoked on this. And people, I implore you to listen to Hamilton. It's on Spotify, it's on Amazon Music, it's everywhere, and it's delightful. Just the thing that I always tell people is that you have to make sure that you have like plenty of tissues when you get towards the end of it, because every time, if you listen all the way through, I just like sob. Oh. I can't do anything at that point. Don't listen to it in the car.
I've been meaning to check it out, like, since, because I remember seeing him. He did a performance at the White House of one of the songs from Hamilton, like 5 years ago, and I remember.
It's like the first song from Hamilton.
Yeah. I remember looking it up, trying to find the full album, and I didn't know that he hadn't even finished writing it yet. And then it came out, and I just haven't gotten around to checking it out yet. But I hear it's getting pretty much unanimous acclaim from everybody. So
Yeah.
check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's worthwhile. Seth, I think you'd probably enjoy it. And as most people do, but particularly I think you would. And that initial thing, he's doing the sort of title track or whatever of Hamilton.
And that was phenomenal.
Will get stuck in your head. And yeah, you're just like, who is this guy, and how did he come up with this? And it's amazing and moving and emotional, and gets you weirdly interested in U.S. history, especially people who weren't before. So
I'm already fascinated with pretty much everything history. So I think I'm probably gonna. I'm definitely, and I really like hip hop, and I like music.
Yeah.
So I'm probably like exactly the target audience for this.
Right. Yeah. And I think it's one of those things where I think it is like great for people who aren't necessarily musical fans. Like the funny thing is, like, I love musicals. I go to as many of them as I possibly can. But today I was listening to some of the other musicals that are on Broadway right now on Spotify. So I listened to American Psycho, and I listened to Kinky Boots, and I was like, I feel like I've been so spoiled by Hamilton that, like, now I'm not enjoying normal musicals the way that I usually do, because I'm like, sounds like a musical.
The American Psycho musical, is the music like kind of 80s style?
It's very 80s, extremely 80s.
It seems like that movie is so steeped in the time period or the story is that you couldn't really remove that from any production of it, I guess.
Everything on the soundtrack to that is basically sort of, it's by Duncan Sheik. And
obviously,
so it sounds a little Duncan Sheik-esque, but also with like Human League and Depeche Mode and sort of things to it. And it's good. It's very good. Matt Smith is the lead in the version that's on the soundtrack.
Doesn't know who that is. Remember?
I heard that he's
that's right.
Prejudice and
listening. Corey, I don't know how many times I have to tell you, if you're going to listen to Broadway music, obviously you should listen to Newsies, because it's the world's best musical ever created in the history of time.
I already know Newsies, but that doesn't help me prepare for the Tonys.
Lyrics, remember the
Right. That's true. Okay, I will. I'll put that on my list. I'm going through a lot of the musicals right now that are on Spotify, because I only recently realized that you could do that.
Kristen, your face just went through like 5 expressions in about half a second. I don't know how you did that. That was impressive.
This is what Heather Feather loves to just watch Kristen talk, just because that's exactly what happens.
I have no control over a lot that happens here. Yeah. Is the issue.
By the way,
my poker face is absolutely terrible.
There is no poker face.
Yeah, I don't even.
Can I tell you like a ridiculous thing that happened to me today that regards Heather Feather?
Of course, I love Heather Feather stories.
Yeah, Heather Feather's great. I had this round table that I was doing, an academic round table for a conference, and for a journal. So this round table, we're recording it, and it's going to be transcribed and put into a journal and all this kind of stuff. And so I introduce myself, and explain what I do, what I research, and that I podcast. And someone Googles me as we're talking, and in the chat box on the side, I just see, I just saw you recently interviewed Heather Feather. And I was like, oh, actually, she was my first podcast co-host. And I just get, oh my God, I'm so starstruck right now.
But not by you, by the fact that you know Heather Feather.
No, because I know Heather Feather. It's like, yeah, whoever you are. But you know Heather. Yes. I died. I immediately messaged Heather Feather. I was like, you will not believe what just happened. She was like, oh my God, tell them I said hi. But,
I'm like, you're like, I actually need them to participate. I don't want them passing out. So.
Yeah, really. Let's slow down, slow your roll a little bit. Yeah. But that was a thing that happened to me this fine day. Recognized in academia for my co-host.
Yeah.
And not for me.
No.
Other news. Finding Dory.
Finding Dory.
Finding Dory.
New trailer. What did you guys think of the trailer?
I forgot to watch it.
Oh man, I remembered to watch it only like 5 minutes before we started.
Good.
So
Seth, why don't you give us your thoughts?
I know a contrarian opinion here. I'm not crazy about Finding Nemo.
Have you watched it recently?
No, I have not.
I feel like you should watch it again.
I should. In general, once it's been like 7 years since I see a movie, I feel like I should probably watch it. And I haven't seen that, I don't think, since it was in theaters. So I should see it again.
Yeah.
I like I like when Albert Brooks gets work. That's always nice.
I love how that's what you didn't even have to watch the trailer to know that, Seth. That tells us nothing about what happened in this new movie.
I didn't know he was. I didn't know he was going to be in it until I heard him in the trailer.
You guys, please welcome Seth to the show. He's a 65-year-old man who just thinks Albert Brooks is underused. So, good lord.
You know who we don't see enough of anymore? Albert Brooks.
The sad.
You know who says that? My dad probably says that.
I watched many an Albert Brooks movie with my dad as a kid.
Yeah. Oh, that's definitely
Oh
something.
my gosh, you don't say. You used to watch a lot of Albert Brooks back in the day? That's
Yeah,
so
who would have thought?
Incredible.
And this is maybe even sadder or better, depending on your perspective. I had that same thought when I saw the first Finding Nemo. I thought, oh, hey, Albert Brooks is getting some.
That's the reason he went and saw Finding Nemo the first time, was because Albert.
Yeah.
He's like, oh,
Just to support.
I was like, oh yeah, great.
anything with that guy.
Oh man.
I don't think I've seen him in anything else since Drive. I think it's Finding Nemo.
Oh, I
Drive.
forgot about that he was in Drive. I haven't watched that in a couple of years.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love
he's
that
a
movie
villain.
now. Yeah, he is
but,
not Marlin in that. That's for sure.
I was definitely, in terms of Finding Dory, I only recently learned of the Pixar theory. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that.
That everything's in the same
World.
Yeah,
universe.
and sort of I read a lot about it, and I thought that was one of the more kind of fascinating, well fleshed out, sort of all-encompassing fan theories, just because it spans like 10 movies or something. So I kind of want to go back and watch like every Pixar movie with that in mind and see how it all holds up.
Yeah.
And that makes me definitely want to kind of see how Finding Dory, if it continues that, or how it fits into it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that is incredible. I'm always impressed. I know a lot of people hate fan theories on things, and they're just like, "Shut up, fans! You're ruining everything."
No,
But I think like the amount of work people put into it, and even if it's not what Pixar intended, that you can pull those threads out of something
Yeah.
is incredible.
I mean, that's yeah, I'm with you, totally. I love fan theories. Even if I don't like the individual theory, the fact that people are like doing them that's the beautiful thing about film and art, is that it's all open to interpretation. And if you can come up with this story that's not actually there, that maybe was or wasn't intended, but it can be pulled from it, then that's just as valid as any other theory. And it just, exactly. I love them. I think they're great.
Yeah, and it would be interesting to go back through all of the Pixar films to do that, although I hate to watch Cars again.
That's actually
pretty much all that I hate.
Well, I think the thing that I found interesting about the Pixar theory, and I guess the reason it kind of works, is that it's sort of because all the Pixar movies are about the relationship between like human beings, machines, and animals, but by some sort of dynamic, some relationship amongst those three. And so that theme kind of plays it out throughout a lot of Pixar's catalog, and that's
absolutely
sort of the crux of the theory, you know.
Yeah, and it's a testament to sort of the themes of Pixar in general, like you said, bringing those things together and how strongly those bonds are made and those connections are made, and that's why they hit everybody so hard most of the time. Like, I think I've always said like Cars is the only one of the like movies that is really just like for kids, and adults are like stop. But in general, what makes them so universal is the way that they connect those themes that are always relevant throughout your entire life.
Yeah, I didn't actually see Cars, but
you're not missing anything.
That's what I hear from everyone. I wonder if the theory would make Cars retroactively better to some people.
Right.
It places it in that I forget what the whole story, the timeline of the theory is, but at some point all humans on Earth, I think, get eradicated, and there are only machines running around. Cars takes place in sort of that epoch of the.
So it's like a nicer version of Terminator. Is that the theory?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, essentially.
So Skynet takes over, but it's not as.
Yeah, and Larry the Cable Guy is one of the.
Oh, God help us. Is that better? I don't know.
I'm gonna get some more wine. Let me know when you're.
Skynet, Larry the Cable Guy.
But also in this trailer, people were quick to catch, probably with the help of some PR person somewhere who under some
Solely
sort of assumed
tweeted
name,
about
posted
it.
it, but that it appears that there may be the first lesbian couple in a Pixar or Disney film, and it's unclear because you only see them briefly in this trailer, whether this is just like a moment in the film or whether they're actually going to be a part of the storyline.
Yeah.
That was going to be my
But
question.
that is,
Okay.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
almost. Sorry, go ahead.
No, on you.
I almost feel like it would. I mean, that's super cool. If that is indeed the first lesbian couple in a Pixar movie. I mean, not cool that it's the first, but cool that
Yeah,
they
after all this
you
time,
two.
but yeah.
It's almost a little better, I think, if it's a moment that isn't not necessarily attention drawn to it. Not that I would object if they played a big role. That would be great too. But if they're only there for a little bit, it kind of normalizes it because it's
right.
Hey,
Yeah.
Here's a lesbian couple, and they're part of they're one of many couples at the aquarium right now or wherever the movie takes place. And just treat it casually like it's not a big deal because it isn't a big deal. That's cool. I like that. But we don't know how it's treated, so we'll see.
Yeah, it's kind of a win-win in that sense, really, is
Exactly,
that it's either sort of really normalizing this situation that way and being like, if it's just one of the many varieties of people, infinite diversity and infinite combinations,
right.
Or it's actually something that, gets time to be developed and is something that, is cool for kids to see, especially kids who grew up in families like that and who have never been able to see them reflected in a film before, that's like a great moment. Representation is so important in that sense. So, I think that's pretty cool. It's, in light of everyone sort of campaigning for the Get Elsa a Girlfriend in Frozen 2 and stuff like this, it's sort of the surprise thing that came out of nowhere while everyone was focused on something else and trying to...
It's like, don't worry, guys, we're already on it, okay? Don't.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. Just give us a minute while we put out this Finding Dory trailer.
Yeah.
and you'll see. We'll see how that goes. But I'm excited about the movie. I think one of the things, I'm always up for a trailer that features Salisbury Hill by Peter Gabriel, so that's always fun.
And Albert Brooks, obviously.
And that shows Albert Brooks getting some work.
Totally.
And also, I just was impressed that they managed to make the effects look even more real in this. And I was at some points you're just that almost looks like it's actual reality and not just animation. So it's not fully, obviously the animation is the fun of it. You don't want it to look totally real, but the way that they managed to do that, I remember being impressed by it in 2002 or 2003 when it came out and being like, wow, this is amazing what they've done with the water and all that. And now that it looks even more so, you're just
I was impressed with the effects in the trailer too.
Especially because sometimes I feel like we go backwards. Like Jurassic World, I feel like the dinosaurs look less real than Jurassic Park. You know what I mean? A lot of times the newer CGI draws attention to itself.
Yeah.
Where it was supposed to, or Twister looked very real. When you watch it now, it still looks like an actual tornado. Whereas a lot of stuff now, it just really draws attention to itself. Look at me, it's CGI.
It's because they usually do it in a way that doesn't seem real. Because that sounded like I'm saying what you're saying.
Yeah.
What I meant to say was the scenarios where it's Twister, it's okay, if I was in a tornado, I can imagine these things happening, right? Whereas lots of times I feel like CGI is a giant robot. We're I can't imagine that being a thing. And so I feel like they take it to a place where you haven't experienced it or far enough away from a human experience where well, that's obviously fake because that's not something
that's a good point.
Physics,
totally
physics and science is not even a word. Lateral, get it together.
No,
but what's the word I'm looking for? Real worldly speaking, you can't do these things, and so I'm well, obviously that's fake, but it's the fact
brain isn't suspending disbelief on it.
Yeah,
well, a movie like Twister is the effects are combining elements of things that exist, and whereas if it's a huge robot, I guess you could say that's doing the same, but like you said, it's so much further away from any reference we could possibly have in real life.
Yeah.
there's like this additional level of suspension of disbelief that you have to get over.
I guess when I compare, like, that's totally true. You know, it's harder to think of something that you just like have no conception of. But I would say, like, when you do have something between like Jurassic Park and Jurassic World, where they're ostensibly the same thing, but the CGI just doesn't look like real dinosaurs to you, or like Twister versus...
Jurassic World is so good though that you don't even notice the special effects.
I feel like you're being facetious.
Yeah.
I'm being serious. People don't agree.
The difference, because Jurassic Park mixed real, tangible animatronic dinosaurs that looked so real with the CGI. Like, there was enough of a mix of both where it was like, where in Jurassic World, the only time you saw an animatronic dinosaur was that one time when it was like, what was it, a brontosaurus or something that had been killed by the, what's his face?
What are they called? Ignominious Rex?
The bad guy, whatever. The Indominus
Rex.
Indominus.
But that was the only time, and so I don't know. There wasn't that bridge like there was in that first one.
Yeah, Twister versus the Into the Storm. Into the Storm looks way less real than Twister does, and it's still just a tornado.
This is when I just start. You realize over the decades that like some filmmakers and some directors just, however they do it, it's like they do their due diligence when they're making their doing these special effects, and they just hold up over time. Like Terminator 2 is like that. There's no reason that it should still look good, but it does. Whereas there's movies made like 5 years ago that don't even look good anymore. You know. So
I mean, have you watched Avatar recently?
Yeah. No, it's like they get lazy. Like James Cameron and Steven Spielberg in those movies, they didn't have another option. Right, so it's like I remember watching the special features on this Jurassic Park where it's like he didn't even want to use, like he wasn't even going to use CGI. He was going to try and use like the claymation, and he was like he couldn't get it to how he wanted it, and so he went
as a last ditch
kind of ditch effort because it and it was this new thing, and so people were really into making it look real because they were trying to like break onto the scene and nobody wanted to use them, and the only person that had used them was James Cameron in Terminator 2. Yeah. And so they like had to do it, and it was, I don't know, I just feel like they're working so much harder at it, and now it's just like a lot. Now it's like, it's just part of how you make movies now, and so
it's now just expected.
Now it's just expected, and so you throw it in instead of putting. That's what I loved about Mad Max, where he could have used CGI for all of those stunts, like easily. That's how Michael Bay made Mad Max. 100% would have used green screen, all of those.
I am so glad that Michael Bay did not make Mad Max.
Right, and so that's the thing where it's like I feel like George Miller is this old guard that is old-fashioned. They're at the beginning of when CGI started, and they remember how great the mixture of the two, and if you use them together, it really is able to like. I've not lived in a world when there's, I mean, basically California has no water, so maybe I kind of do live in Mad Max world. But, I haven't lived there, and so for me, but first, it was not hard for me to suspend my disbelief and think of this whole world because there was a mixture of definite real life things, practical things. I think people just get lazy, or maybe it's too expensive. I don't know what the deal is.
That's why Star Wars worked so well too. Like Force Awakens, the mix of practical and CGI, and being willing to put in the extra money and effort in order to make something that feels more real and isn't just.
I mean, I still don't think that. Maybe this is an overstatement, but I can't think of any CG that looks as good as the best practical effects I've seen in movies.
Exactly.
Have you guys seen The Thing?
Swamp Thing?
The John Carpenter?
Like, as in the John Carpenter thing, yeah.
I mean, that still has maybe the best special effects I've seen in a movie. It doesn't.
I love The Thing.
It doesn't look the least bit dated. Maybe some parts of the movie are dated, but the effects.
Right.
I mean, they still blow me away.
It's like one of those things where it's like if it's the clothes are the only thing that give away the fact that it wasn't made in 2015.
Exactly. Yeah.
That it's a good. Maybe. Yeah. Then it's a good movie or whatever.
Right. Yeah. And it's a shame how in around 95 or 96 when CG started being a thing, they started phasing out practical, and I think in a sense it kind of makes sense that a lot of movies from the mid 90s, like right before that switch. Still look really good, because
Yeah, it's like
practical
the
effects.
peak right there.
Exactly. Yeah, the art was perfected of practical effects
Yeah.
to that point.
Oh, I will say, and I don't know how much this is the case, but something like Independence Day had to be a lot of CG, and I think they did a really good job of that. But I think they were still perfecting a form coming from having done a
Right.
lot of practical. But I will
Yeah.
also say that the new Independence Day seems to have believable CGI in it, which is
Yeah.
from what you can see in the trailer. I
Yeah.
think looks great. And I imagine the aliens and stuff are a lot of practical too, which I think is important.
See, that was what my thing was, because that was a thing about it where, yeah, like the ship and stuff was CGI, but the aliens were
but
like
the aliens are practical. Yeah.
practical.
Yeah, you can feel, the rubbery tentacles
like there's
around the
something about that,
doctor's
but when
neck.
it's fake, you're like, you can't feel it.
It doesn't seem like there's a physical object.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, and I know. So, anyway,
Exactly.
Hollywood.
So Finding Nemo looks really real.
Yeah, what's the point of that whole rant about? We went from that all the way out to.
That was like peak podcast moment right there.
That was definite, like, classic fan cave. We're like, whoa, we started with Finding Dory and ended on Terminator 2.
Yeah. Exactly.
As you do.
Okay. Oh boy. There's so much to talk about here. We'll talk briefly about this. I'm kind of excited because we have, it's always fun when you have someone who actually is in the demographic that this pertains to. When we talk about women's issues, we're always here. People of color issues, I'm always here. Captain America this week.
We talk about white issues,
yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah, we talk about white women. Kristen's here.
We talk about white girl issues.
When we talk about white women and ignorant white
people problems.
I'm here.
I mean, me too.
welcome.
If we're talking, anyway.
Yeah, but this week, in the new Captain America reboot, we find out that Captain America has been Hydra the whole time. Which caused an uproar for multiple reasons. Our friend Duncan pointed out there are people who are upset about it for the wrong reasons, and what he means by that is just generally not wanting Captain America to be a villain.
Right.
I think that's fair for people to not want to see Captain America as a villain, but it's not the biggest issue.
I hear what he's saying, but I'm like, but also...
Yeah, but sometimes you don't want to see your favorite person turn bad. Like,
yeah,
that's
wrong with that.
But the greater issue here, as many have pointed out, is that Captain America was developed by two Jewish writers in order to combat the very real Nazi threat at the time, and was actually slightly ahead of its time in sort of thinking about the Nazis as a threat. And so Captain America has always been sort of this figure standing up against Nazis, and Hydra was a stand-in for Nazi Germany. And as you can see from the movies, that's made very, very clear that this organization is wrapped up in that. And so the idea that this character created by two Jewish authors to fight Nazism is now connected to this Nazi organization is potentially very offensive. And so we actually have a Jewish guest today, and a very thoughtful one at that. And so I'm curious as to get your thoughts on this. I mean, I know you're not like a Captain America aficionado, but from that sort of historical perspective.
For sure, yeah. I read that piece, and I read a couple pieces about the controversy from that angle. I mean, the piece you sent out, Corey, and I can't remember the author. He was.
I think it was actually a woman. But...
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know. I assumed that it was a male earlier too, and then I looked at it. I was like, nope. Her name's Jessica Plummer.
Oh man, that was me defaulting to my the gender normativity.
You're such a man.
I know. I'm sorry.
Get off our show.
Get out of here. I did the same thing, but continue. Yeah.
I thought I could understand the argument. Hey, the creators of this character wouldn't be happy if they saw wouldn't be happy with this twist. Mm-hmm. I don't make the leap from that to this is disrespectful to Jews, or this is using the author said something to the effect of like you're using the Holocaust as clickbait, or you're using the deaths
Right.
of 6 million Jews as clickbait. I don't know that. It seems to me, and I'm not a big comic books fan, although
He wears his Marvel
Yeah, I know.
T-shirt.
Like, says the guy in the Marvel shirt.
with my I just exposed myself as a complete poser. If you could see where, God, oh Jesus, that's embarrassing. It's a cool shirt. What can I say?
It is a cool shirt. It's okay.
I'll get we get all
Captain America's even on it. Oh my gosh.
I know, I'm wearing a Captain America shirt. I'm familiar. I've seen all the movies, all in the MCU. I think, from comic books do this so often, where they have these huge twists, and everyone kind of knows they're never really permanent. That there's usually kind of a wink and a nod, or if it's a huge character gets killed, right? Basically, it's that these things are kind of reversible in comics. Given that that's the standard, I don't know. Maybe it's a publicity stunt. I can get that criticism that it's just a publicity stunt, but I don't quite see the dots connected from that to this is offensive or disrespectful to Jews. I don't know. That's just me, not speaking for all Jews. Just this one, but
Right.
We lost Corey.
Yep. We sure did. There she goes.
Jeez.
Does it still record? I guess it must. It still says live because she's the one that started it.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I
don't know. I guess it's still working. Well, we're fine. Oh, because the link is still a thing that we clicked on.
Okay.
Technology says.
Right.
Hard.
Yeah.
I'm like, do we keep talking? Does it know?
Especially really complex technology like G-Chat.
Oh gosh, it's the worst. It is the worst.
But so, what did you think about the Captain America?
So for me, as someone as well who's not like I don't read a ton of the comics, so it's more of like a movie thing for me. And I've always loved Captain America, the character himself. And so for me, I know as Duncan would be upset with me, but I'm like, Captain America, he's just seems like the. Hold on a second, she's texting us. Power just went out. Keep talking. We'll rejoin. Oh, that's nice. Where was it? What was I talking about? What did I say? So I watched the movies, and so for me it was the same thing. I was kind of like, well, it's Captain America, and then that did kind of seem like when I started reading the think pieces and people, being really upset about the history of where he came from, and that sort of thing. It made me think more, but at the same time, I was like, it's hard for me a little bit to relate. I get the criticisms, and I can understand that for sure. But for me, it was more. It seems like a weird turn, like out of nowhere, and same kind of deal. I feel like maybe they felt like they had nowhere else to go, and so this was like the only possible route because they'd already kind of exhausted all the other ones. Is that what it was?
Apparently, someone may correct me on this, but I think that DC Comics was rolling out some big issue or event or some line the same week, and it was hypothesized that Marvel did this just to take attention away from that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's true.
Yeah. Well, I remember. And I don't know how much they know before issues come out. Amy, who was on last week with us, and she was talking about Thor, and she had made the comment that in at least in the movie realm, it's a lot harder to make changes.
Right.
They're kind of already set in stone, and it's a little bit of a slower process. But even in the comics, where it's like there's this new set of Captain Americas coming out, right? So this is number 1 in this new kind of series that's coming, where they've already been written and ready to go, and it's not like they've released this one and then they're going to draw it and write the story for the next one. It's like this arc has already been completed, and so even that can be a little bit of a slower head to turn. Yeah. So whether or not they did it in, maybe if they knew that DC was coming out with something and so they felt like they also needed to, I don't know. Yeah. So just the way that she was explaining it made it sound like both are kind of a slow process.
Right.
And like I said, I don't know how much there's like they know what's going. I don't know how they know what's happening in each other's worlds, but whereas both can be slow. And so she'd even said, like, when this news broke, it was just kind of this Twitter conversation, and I jumped on and was looking at what her and Duncan and Corey were talking about, and she was saying, like, this can be something, and I think the author had even pointed out, like, something they can technically correct. So whatever this arc is, they can see it through, and it's easily something, one of those things where, you know, whatever she had said, oh, just kidding, he's not really, or he's a triple agent, or he's whatever, this is a fake, this is a dream, I don't know, however they want to do it, is a way that it can still definitely go, and whether or not that was already planned ahead of time, or whether or not there was so much backlash, like, oh, we should probably fix it, you know, I don't, you know, who knows?
Yeah, I'm curious about that too. I mean, I bet they saw a lot of the backlash coming.
I would assume.
It sort of seems like they're recording controversy a little bit, which it's not a good or a bad thing in this context. I mean, I think I guess my feeling, and I feel like I shouldn't speak on it too much because I'm not familiar with the characters or the mythology, but it seems like, in general, if we're talking about, you know, something being offensive or not in, like, a movie or a book or whatever, like, there's a difference between having a character who is terrible and suggesting that the attitude of the authors is terrible. You know, like, just because I guess what I'm saying is, just because you have Captain America saying "Hail Hydra," that doesn't mean that I guess, like, the voice of the comic book is saying, hey, it's a good thing that he's Hydra, or is saying, like, hey, like, it's no big deal.